Okay, so my presentation is on do teachers need more support with students who have a diagnosis of ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So I'm going to start my presentation and for it here. Here we go. Okay, so my first slide, this is the purpose or the needs assessment. Again, going back to teachers need more training and support in their classroom with students with ADHD diagnosis. So how I collected my data was face-to-face. I decided I was going to go with like an online survey, and through talking with Dr. Ryan, decided that this would be the best. And I'm glad that I did. I think I got a lot more feedback than I had anticipated, and it just made it more personal. So I had set up 16 interviews, and of that, I actually ended up doing 12 just because of schedule conflicts. The 12 or 10 of them were educators, and 2 of them were parents of children who had been diagnosed with ADHD. So the results, based on my questions, and my questions, the first one was, in working with students who exhibit ADHD, where do you believe the majority of the support comes from in your school or district? Overwhelmingly, the support based on the answers from the classroom teachers, and occasionally the parents, was that the school counselor or the counselor at the school is a big advocate for teachers with students with ADHD. Remember, students with ADHD do not have IEPs for the most part. They may have a 504 accommodation plan. So my second question was, how could your school better support you with students who struggle with ADHD? And looking at the amount of students in the classroom each year, so at the end of the year when they start putting students in the classrooms for the next year, specific focus on the students with ADHD and allowing for more activities during instruction time. So that's key. In your school or district, if your school or district allowed you to choose professional development topics for teachers, what would you consider to be the top 3? Now, this kind of surprised me. So the top 3 choices for professional development were conducted by a professional who has classroom experience, innovative and creative, and the third one was practical and not theoretical. So as you can see, nothing about more training for students who have ADHD. And then, so what about the educational rights of students with the diagnosis of ADHD? They have the same rights as any other student, except students who have individual education plans or IEPs. That's not true. The 504 accommodation plan levels the playing field for these students, and many of the teachers didn't even know that. So that would be interesting in collecting data later. How much instruction time do you feel during a normal day do you lose addressing behavioral issues? So most of the teachers said somewhere around an hour, but that could be more depending upon if they're coming off of a long weekend or it's a holiday or going into a holiday. Coming back from summer break is always tough the first few weeks. So number 6, if your student child has a 504 accommodation plan, what are some of the accommodations you feel must be added to the plan? More testing based on verbal knowledge versus written tests. I really didn't get anything back from the teachers, so this is primarily from the parents. Number 7, do you think students who have the medical diagnosis of ADHD should be given differential instruction? All of the teachers said they already do make accommodations in the classroom and use differentiated instruction. Both parents said they wanted to see more academic accommodations made for their child. Both parents stressed homework was a huge concern, and it was a battle every school night to get it done. So my last question was, could more activity in the classroom be an intervention for a child with ADHD? Why or why not? Teachers stated this would be a great idea, although there is not enough support to allow students to run around right now, at least. They would need additional support, teachers, aides. Parents felt it was a great idea, though. So moving on, recommendations or plans of action for intervention to address issues discovered during your needs assessment. The plan of action discovered to address some of the issues would be more training, although teachers did not specifically point this out in the professional development option. More than 50% concurred training during professional development days would be a preventative measure. In addition, if a classroom exceeds more than 5 students in the class who have actual ADHD diagnosis and a 504 accommodation plan, the school needs to look at a teacher's aide. How am I going to share the findings? Well, I'm planning on sharing it with the people that I interviewed. I'm also hoping that I'll have the opportunity to share this with some of the school districts in the area. And I would like to also present them to teachers' meetings and maybe get additional feedback on that. So reflection, thinking critically, what were the key factors that made your needs assessment successful and effective? The critical need for teachers and parents to be heard on the topic of ADHD. In addition to being heard in light of there may be assistance for these students in the classroom. So what key factors hindered the effectiveness of your needs assessment? The factors hindering where the effectiveness is the resources, where the effectiveness is resources to assist the students with ADHD. What steps could be taken in the future to address these hindrances? Working with a school district that already has the money put to the side for students with this medical disability. I felt like because my topic was not monetarily relevant, there wasn't much of a buy-in for the teachers. So continuing with the last one of the last slides, the experience was very educational for me, eye-opening. What was learned from the experience is teachers do need the resources with students who have ADHD. Although the priority with teachers doesn't seem to be as urgent as expected, the 2 parents interviewed expressed more of an urgency with accommodations for their child. Parents expressed concerns of their child falling further behind. The community embraces change and focus with students who have ADHD. They feel programs which cost money may be the answer. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.